Yeah. Hello, my gorgeous, beautiful, wonderful queen bees. It is your girl, Amanda, the Buzzed Artist. Welcome back to my channel, a place where you can let loose and just have fun with your acrylic paint, people. And may I also add, Happy Merry Thanksgiving. This is one of my most favorite times of the year because, well, it's Thanksgiving, we get to eat a lot of food, we get to be surrounded by family members, and this year, Thanksgiving falls on November 22nd, which is my birthday! And I'm turning 30! So there's a lot of cool stuff happening this year. What we have here today are paintings of two turkeys. Now this is going to be a speed painting, and just talking about a couple of things that have been weighing very, very heavily on my heart of late. So as you can see, these two paintings, I wanted to do something that was Thanksgiving related, and I figured, hey, you know what, let's do turkeys, because, well, we like to eat them, and they're delicious. So I was going ahead and designing the layout for this turkey, and as I was painting, something just wasn't feeling all that great. And I know that this has to be a very common thing amongst many, many artists. We start with a painting, we get, so pumped, so excited about it, and then as we're going, you start to see that it doesn't look like quite the way that you want it to, and then the more you're kind of fixing it and working at it, something's just not looking right. And this turkey was the biggest example of me feeling this way. I wasn't really that super excited about painting a turkey to begin with, but it kind of inspired me to want to talk to you all today about the fear behind making art. Now, I know some of you on this channel like to watch my tutorials, and you have all these wonderful comments that you post to my wall, and it's just so inspiring to see that. But I have to tell you, the number of people that have commented on my videos saying, I only wish I can do what you do. I only wish I can make something like that. And all I want to do is just reach my hands over to the other side of the screen of that person who made that comment and give them a big hug and say, you can! If you feel the creativity, the need to want to inspire and create and to just be an artist, don't be afraid to pick up a brush. Just do it. People are so afraid of making mistakes. That's what I started to see. People who enter into the creative space, who want to make things, like people who are writers, people who are artists, people who are poets, people who are just crafters, people who are creators. Anybody that creates anything, in my eyes, is an artist, because they have done something from their minds and they've made it into a reality. I wanted to start off with this quote that I found by Ira Glass. Now, some of you may know him as the NPR guy. He does the This American Life podcast, and he has this extremely interesting quote about the people who do creative work, and I wanted to share that with you all today and give us some insight onto it. Nobody tells this to people who are beginners. I wish someone told me. All of us who do creative work, we get into it because we have good taste. But there is this gap. For the first couple of years you make stuff, it's just not that good. It's trying to be good, it has potential, but it's not. But your taste, the thing that got you into the game, is still killer. And your taste is why your work disappoints you. A lot of people never get past this phase. They quit. Most people I know who do interesting creative work went through years of this. We know our work doesn't have this special thing that we want it to have. We all go through this. And if you're just starting out or you're still in this phase, you've got to know it's normal. And the most important thing you can do is do a lot of work. Put yourself on a deadline so that every week you finish one story. It is only by going through a volume of work that you will close that gap, and your work will be as good as your ambitions. And I took longer to figure out how to do this than anyone I've ever met. It's going to take a while. It's normal to take a while. You're just going to have to fight your way through. First thing that I kind of realized from this quote was how normal it is to fail. It's normal to have work that you made that just isn't up to your standards, that you feel like you just can't get right. So with this painting, I was making this turkey, and I don't know, come hell or high water, I just was not feeling it. I was not inspired. I just did not I really am not a fan of the turkey in general. I don't like the look of it very much. That made me realize that I wasn't inspired. I wasn't as jacked up about doing a painting that I have in the past. I've done all these pop art paintings that get me so incredibly riled up that I completely lose myself in it. That's when I'm fired up. With this particular painting, I wasn't. And I wanted to call attention to that. We as artists, we have inspiration. We always have this little glow of fire that kind of started it for us in the first place, right? It's something that just grows inside of you that eventually you're going to want to do something about it. That little fire that grows and grows inside of you and makes you want to do something is inspiration. And with that inspiration comes action. So I bet you can attest to this too. When you are bursting with inspiration, the urge to make art just arises so greatly inside of you. That's the whole thing about an artist, is somebody that is willing to let their inner kid out. And just despite the fact of judgment, despite the fact of norms and rules, regulations, guidelines, what other people think, they just go ahead and play on paper. And that is truly what an artist does. So now this kind of brings me to another question. Where do I find that inspiration? How do I key it in and lock it in so that I can keep on creating works of art that help keep pushing me to be better? To kind of crack that question, I think I wanted to just go back in even further and ask this initial question. Why do you want to make art? It's the simplest of questions, but it really does change the game here. Why do you want to make art? Do you want to do it for the sake of other people, like in a commission work? Or do you want to do it for yourself? Those are two different modes of thinking, and one may not inspire as much as the other does. So if you start making art for other people, that's where you might run into some difficulties. You are making something for somebody else. It's not for you. It's something for someone else to consume, to enjoy. It may not be exactly what inspires you or drives you. And this is stuff that's subject to others' judgment. And when you are making something that is going to be subjected to other people's thoughts and feelings that you can't even control, baby, you're going to be subjected to a lot more anxiety. And I know that's how I work. If I am not really liking the piece that I'm making, my heart's only going to be halfway into it. It's no longer a conversation between you and the canvas. It's something you're making for somebody else, a product. Whereas if you are making art for yourself on a more personal basis, it's for your eyes and for your eyes only, and or for your friends, whoever you decide to share it with. And it is this difference that inspiration can really start to become a thing. So it's kind of like the difference between having a novel and having a diary, because what you write in your diary is not wrong. You're writing your feelings, you're writing your emotions, you're having that personal conversation with yourself, and hopefully towards the end of it coming through some sort of self-realization, personal growth of some sort, whereas a novel is kind of meant for public consumption. You want to look at art in the same light. Art is your personal conversation. Now that is truly kind of revolutionary if you think about it. You want to look at your art as a way for you to explore yourself, to learn, to develop, explore some stuff, mess a ton of stuff up, because you know what, you're not going to be the first artist and you won't be the last who has to do a lot of really bad work in order to actually put out something good. And you need to, most importantly of all, reserve your judgment. Realize that this is just a happy playing medium for yourself. And I know it, I'm my worst critic. And boy, was my inner critic screaming at me when I was making this turkey. My first tip on just helping you unlock that inspiration to really pull in that deep personal development with your art is take the pressure off. Do small art doodles without fully committing to finishing them. Now, I know a big part of drawing and painting and whatnot is just that you have a blank canvas in front of you and you have to think that you got to make something that is a complete masterpiece on the first shot. That's a lot of pressure that you're putting on yourself, and I want you to realize that you don't have to do that right on the get-go. In fact, start with a sketch. Pull out your notebook and just do a quick sketch, a thumbnail, a small value or color study. Do something that will just help you start breaking in a little bit. No one has to see what you're doing. What it can do is it helps you work out the kinks. Instead of it all staying in your head where it ruminates and stagnates, you're putting it on something else that's outside of yourself where you can kind of see and work out the details. You're working on it like a puzzle. You're trying to figure out what works best for you and your style and your strengths so that you can work the kinks out and get it to be the most perfect painting or picture or whatever it is that it can be. You can easily dabble in one drawing, move on to another, and then revisit your previous one later. And what's really cool about this is that you can start a painting and kind of when the inspiration starts to dwindle, you're not feeling it anymore, you can stop. It's okay. You're allowed to stop and move on to something else if you feel like you've learned a couple lessons from that first shot of painting. That it's okay for you to work on a painting, to stop a third of the way, a quarter of the way, an 18th of the way there, and move on to something else if you felt like you learned something in that first shot. You just doing that will teach you so much more about what you have to do for your next painting. And give yourself the latitude to be okay with just not totally nailing each and every attempt at painting, because to be honest with you, honey, you won't. And this painting, especially these videos here that I'm showing you, are a testament to that, and I wanted to show that to you here on this channel. You know, I put out a lot of tutorials for all of you to follow, and there is a lot of work that goes behind that. It's not just me doing it on the first shot. I have sketchbooks, I have all these different ideas that I need to sketch out first in order to kind of see it through. Tip number 2, carry a small sketchbook with you at all times and take advantage of that shift in attention. So I know that we're all busy, we have big schedules that we have to do, and sometimes the very idea of having to take an hour out of your day to do art is daunting, and in fact it can feel like a lot of pressure. If you're feeling that you're just not really in the moment with your work, you need to go take a break, you can go grab a sketchbook, do a quick doodle, 30 seconds, 5 minutes, whatever you have the time and the capacity, mental capacity to do, and then go back to doing something else. You can stop and then go back to do something else. And consider every time you put pen to paper or whatever medium it is you're using as a brief learning experience rather than a task with an end goal of producing a finished piece of artwork. Whew! Doesn't that sound so liberating? Every time you place pen to paper, brush to canvas, what have you, it doesn't have to be a finished piece of artwork at the end. It doesn't have to be. It could be a brief learning experience. And splitting your art process into chunks can really help you learn just as much without it being this monumental effort. And you can continue to build those skills without necessarily spending all that time just doing one thing. And think about it this way too, you don't hesitate writing down a phone number on a piece of paper, right? The learning process in art is very much the same way, just a series of marks, but all in all, these marks can help teach you a lesson or convey something to you, whether it be 30 seconds of doing it or 30 days of doing it. It does the same thing, it's a learning experience. So tip number 3, if you feel stuck, take a break and go play with something else. Now, Hallmark does this really cool thing with their illustrators. They allow them to take breaks and make stuff that's not in line with making something for the company. Folks have the freedom to play with mediums they aren't familiar with and spend time just messing around with it. They can completely just make something that's so incredibly bad looking, but the company understands that the creative process and just being able to play and experiment is so important to the mental well-being and creativity of their employees. What's really cool about that is that without all that objectivity that's limiting ideas, what happens instead is you create more ideas that can be innovated from that playtime, which will create more products for the company, which creates more money to be made by the company. So for example, I work a lot with acrylics and with pencil, but of late I've started working with paper mache, and boy, let me tell you, the amount of ideas that I've gotten just by playing with paper mache, especially on this channel, has been amazing. And I've developed more ideas just because I've been playing more with paper mache. Try to find other things that you can play with that are just completely out of the realm of what you've worked with previously. You'll be so surprised on the amount of ideas that you allow yourself to have by working with these different mediums. Another tip to help you get more inspired and to really get you into the mood for getting inspired and creating action is to do art challenges. Now, you'll find a bunch of these challenges on places like Reddit, and Redbubble is probably one of my favorite places to find art challenges. Now, you don't have to submit anything or participate online with these challenges, but you can look at these challenges as some things that you can do for yourself that could be for your eyes only. And now tip number 5, this is the most important tip, and I think this is something I want you all to take to heart at the end of this video, is accept the fact that you're always growing as an artist and will make art you sometimes don't like. And I know what you're thinking, but Amanda, you're an art channel, you're an artist. It's easy for you to say, don't be afraid to make beautiful art, and yet here you are making beautiful art. I'm showing you this turkey for a reason. This is not my best work. I know it, I'm gonna say it. Last week I showed you a video of all of the sketchbooks and doodles that I've done. Man, some of them are just hard to look at. And I know that I'm gonna be making 12,000 more just bleh kind of work but it's helping me work out the kinks. You don't have to wait for someone else to say that you're an artist in order to be one. If you've done at least one painting and enjoyed the process or found some value in that process of learning, baby, you are an artist. I want you to embrace that, because wow, are we so critical of ourselves? We have jobs, we're adults, and we just have so many responsibilities, and we don't give ourselves enough credit. And you need to take that time and give yourself that self-love, because baby, you deserve it. Before you know it, you'll be having a whole 5 sketchbooks just filled to the brim with ideas, and you will be bubbling up with just so much more. And that is how you get inspired. So I hope you all learned a little something from me today. I know I rambled a little bit, but I felt like it was crucial. It was essential to talk about, because it's just so important, because I know I struggle with this issue myself. Go out there, make some art, love yourself, and always have fun with your acrylic paint. All right, everybody, I wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, a safe holiday, and I love you all very much. Bye!